everyone. Welcome to When Creatives Embrace AI. So our panel today, When Creatives Embrace AI, will explore the highs, the hurdles, and the honest reality of blending creative intuition with machine intelligence. For the next hour, we are going to explore how AI can add value to our lives, what AI means for human creativity, and how AI tools are being used in production today. Before we start, I just want to say a huge thank you to Innovate UK in partnership with their Creative Industries and Bridge AI programs. They are delighted to work in conjunction with CMC, providing support for young creative minds, and we really appreciate their sponsorship for today's panel. So would love to introduce our speakers. Just to introduce myself, my name is Amy Takahara. I run my own consultancy company called Sigma Girl Media. Delighted to be here with our panelists. We have Giles Lamb, who is a composer from Curious Dreamers. We have Annabeth Robinson, who is a creative technologist from the University of Salford. We have Ben Lumsden, an EP at Dimension Studio. And we have Martin Nyman, founder of King Bee Animation. So let's jump in. Giles, do you want to talk to us about how you use AI and
Sure. Well,
how you use it?
My background is a film and TV composer, so I've been writing music for everything that moves really since the late 90s. I do a lot of work with kids animation, and I also, Curious Dreamers is a production company, so I also produce animation as a composer. So bringing music right at the heart of our work as we're developing various series at the moment. But yeah, I in a way, for me, the technology's always been a part of how I've got into the industry. And back in the late 90s, I mean, literally we were sort of transitioning from tape machines to suddenly you could get 16 tracks playing at the same time on a Mac. And so the barriers to creating kind of professional work and sound and music suddenly opened up. And so in a way, my whole career has followed this path as technologies evolved. And obviously as plugins and different software, and I mean music software, machine learning really has been integral to how software's developed. And it's enabled me, I'm not classically trained, but suddenly it opened the window to be able to create work with full orchestras, to simulate multiple instruments, and it's just got better and better. And as computers have got faster and faster, that's sort of been more and more enabling. It's something it's been sort of almost like a kind of real inspiration for me as a composer, and allowed me to work in loads of different contexts and bring my musicality to the work. Obviously now we've kind of almost that kind of curve of the technology's reached this critical moment where it's exponentially more powerful, and we've now sort of hit that point of generative AI, which is almost like another shift. But I still use it, and it's sort of integral into everything I do. I use sort of virtual drum machines, a lot of processing. I can master tracks. I can do loads of things really quickly. So as a sort of creative practitioner, it's really kind of liberating in many ways. I mean, where it goes, it's exciting. It is sort of scary and exciting at the same time. But that's really where I'm coming from.
Awesome, thank you. Annabeth, I know you have some show and tell as well.
Yeah.
Talk about how you use AI and.
So actually just following back on Giles, listening to that, I mean, for a little bit of context, I mean, I think as a creative technologist, because I was always trying to find out what is the correct definition for me. So I did my undergraduate was a fine art with computers back in the 90s. So that was like the first bits of internet art. So I've always been around and interested in emergent technologies and stuff like that. I was actually a student here at the University of Sheffield when we made the transition from film to DV, and that completely was a disruptive technology at the time as well. But I kind of wanted to play with that and put that into the Avid and stuff like that. And then, how I've kind of come with AI, it just fits within that whole tool bag of things like virtual production tools and robotics and all that other kinds of fun. But at the end of the day, it's all hopefully in service of story or trying to get an idea across. But yeah, so I think we've got some clips, haven't we? So I'll talk over this one. So in context, this was made with very early beta access to something called Runaway. And this is actually just an assemblage of clips that was, the problem I was actually trying to solve was make content that could be projection mapped for an installation. And ultimately what I was kind of finding was trying to make images that you could probably find from newsreels and stuff, but I wanted eventually this like narrative to arrive that if like sea levels lifted, that we would eventually start having to kind of like live with that, and how that might change kind of society. So that was what the installation was about. The irony is not lost on me that, as soon as I was kind of making that idea of actually the sustainable costs of AI started to become kind of part of the conversation. But then I thought that made it still quite a valid piece of work to discuss when we were kind of presenting this at light festivals. It's nearly come to the end. But when it goes on to the next video, I think it's the next one, which is done in VO3.
For 10 points, what is real?
Is it that reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one? I just realized we are in the Matrix. I'm going home.
So that shows you kind of even there, just like 2 years difference in how the technology's moved on. I kind of miss the days of the more janky kind of old AI where it was all kind of like glitchy and lost. I want that. That's an aesthetic. I want it back. Yeah. The computer trying to dream. With the just the one we just saw there, I think as an academic, I have to play with this, and I suppose that's a privilege as well. I don't have that kind of business pressure, but I need to play for it. I want to see what it can do, but I also need to do that on service of my students as well. With the reality one there, that was actually made within a train in half an hour on this smartphone. Literally, that's I suppose a scary principle, and edited as well in Premiere Rush. So by the time I got off the train from between Manchester and Leeds, that was out there up on YouTube. So we're in that kind of space. And then if you don't know VO3, I suppose its USP is it also does generative sound. So it's got that kind of sync sound. It's not always perfect. And then what was kind of scary or kind of amazing, most of those shots was the first prompt that kind of got resolved. The only one I had to kind of do a few times was the kind of squirrel at the computer. I noticed things like kind of interaction still a little bit not always perfect, or interactions with other characters. So those are the limitations. And then I suppose finally we've got another clip. I think this is one takeaway I would kind of suggest to the audience if you want to embrace AI. Try and look at something called Comfy UI. So this is a really nice kind of platform and toolkit you can run on your own computer, so you're not having to go onto the cloud, and can run it off your own kind of GPU. And it's an absolute playground to just kind of experiment with lots of different text, different kinds of models. In this instance here, I've got a webcam that's driving a kind of pose estimation, and then using that to control the AI output. This is when Stable Diffusion XL came out. So that's real time. That's kind of rendering AI frames within like about 2 a second. And that, again, was done about 18 months ago. No, probably about 18, 15 months ago. And now that's practically real time, how quick this technology is moving on. But, yeah, Comfy UI, which I think, Ben, you're going to probably mention a bit.
Thank you. Ben?
Hi everybody. So my name's Ben Lumsden. I'm from Dimension Studio, and Dimension, we for the last 10 years or so have been doing a lot of work in virtual production, and probably the core of our business these days is LED volume operation, if you like. So think of The Mandalorian. We do all of those large LED screens and the graphics behind them. We've been getting into using generative AI for linear animated content fairly recently, and I've got a little video to demonstrate that.
The Futures team at Dimension is focused on exploring the future of filmmaking. How do we use and adopt AI for our existing workflows and pipelines, and how do we use AI and generative AI for AI-first approaches?
We needed a project to test this pipeline out with. We called it Mara and Milo. It's a fully animated short film about a young witch which goes to a witch school, leaving her cat behind.
We had a vague idea of how the character is going to look. And then taking that description, I took it to an image generation model, and I was able to design different iterations, whether we're going for like a Victorian look or more of a modern 3D look.
When it comes to environment generation, a lot of it was prompting and being very, very specific about what I wanted. It did need artistic input. You do need someone who knows what they're looking for. I feel like if you didn't understand art, if you don't understand composition and stuff, you would struggle.
That's where the artistic decision-making comes from, where you can just tell by a look whether it's going to work.
This is where we are backing up our artists with Gen AI tools so they can make good art with the skills they have learned throughout their careers.
Thank you. And Martin.
Hey guys, so my name's Martin. I run an animation studio called King Bee. We're based in the Elstree Studios. So we've, in the last kind of year or two, for the last few years, we've been doing quite a lot of animation workshops at different places and kind of giving kids from, say, age of 10 to 16 the experience of making their own animations. And it's sort of, you can see the kind of joy and the creativity kind of in their eyes, and it's really exciting. We thought it'd be really lovely to kind of build on that and give them that opportunity. You know, sometimes kids just from a career point of view in schools, the creative kind of careers aren't tasted from earlier on. So our sort of plan is to develop an AI based animation app, but the AI would be assistive. So it's basically within the app, all of the animation pipeline, you can really, like if you're sort of keen on drawing or you're keen on storyboarding, the AI will accelerate parts of the process, but not in a prompt way, more in a kind of a way to enable kids to learn those skills. And so at the moment we've just sort of finished this Innovate UK investor readiness program, and we're just going for investment, and we're on I've been doing a few different programs to kind of try and help us along. This CoStar one where we're kind of getting some development support, but we're sort of building on our, I suppose, kind of years of experience in animation and wanting to empower creativity. So that's kind of where we're coming from. Yeah.
Awesome. And then this is...
so this is our kind of little sample of our sort of deck with some of the people we've been working with. My brother there, actually, who's in gaming. Just like some support and people that have been helping us.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Which one was this? Was this part of your deck?
Oh, yeah, sorry, that's just part of our deck, yeah.
Okay.
You're looking for money.
Awesome, thank you.
I've got 500K, yeah.
Just want to let everybody know we will have some time at the end. We'll have 10 minutes to do a Q&A, so think about your questions, what you'd like to ask. If you can't think of anything, just ask ChatGPT. We're open to that here. For the panel, just want to start off, with AI and all the chat about AI right now. In every industry, there's always been disruption. How big of a disruption is AI in our industries now, and how do you see this? Do you feel it's taking away jobs? So, whoever would like to start.
So it's a very difficult question. I guess it can. It's definitely it is. It's obviously the elephant in the room, and it is kind of, there is danger, but I think there are opportunities at the same time. So I think, for example, we were talking to a sort of broadcaster a few weeks ago, and they were just asking us about potentially using a bit of AI to reduce the cost of the content, just so, because their budgets are kind of small, it's a smaller kind of broadcaster. So that's like a situation where they might not be able to create the content without the use of AI. But I think maybe sometimes in the kind of, just in the brainstorming process, if you have, say, an animator, like we had a project where it was about abused children in the UK, like a fundraising campaign, and there weren't any references on Google that the artist could use, so they were using it like a mood board for drawing. So I think there's just some, using it as a new tool just to kind of support the process, but not to, just to kind of amplify the creativity. So there is a positive side, I guess, so yeah.
Awesome.
I feel as though there's definitely going to be a massive change with the job market in the world of animation and the world of computer graphics more broadly. I mean, across the whole world, but just to keep it centered around media and entertainment, I really do feel as though there's going to be a big shift. There will be lots of jobs that are going to become obsolete or redundant. Rotoscoping is sort of not really a thing anymore in the world of visual effects. So I think if, I tell my kids who are interested in this world, you don't want to necessarily focus all of your efforts on becoming, really deep into a craft that might become obsolete. So what's the way to prepare for the next generation, both as companies and craftspeople, I think, and an industry as a whole? I think we just need to be awake to the conversation. I think we need to know that the jobs and the types of jobs that are about it, that's changing. I'm quite an optimist that we're going to keep lots of the traditional craft. It was nice to hear Sarah, I think her name is from Ardman, in the question time earlier, talking about the reaction that Ardman have seen, which is actually there's more interest in doing all of the hard handcrafted bits. And just as you were talking, Annabeth, about the disruption of film into digital, it doesn't mean that film goes away completely. Yeah, so I think there's lots of cause for optimism, but certainly whatever happens as an industry, we can't be burying our head in the sand to the fact that there's going to be big disruption in jobs.
I mean, there is actually, they are seeing a reduction, particularly just generally in society, we're seeing the sort of bottom rung of work that can be outsourced to AI, and so you're kind of removing school leavers and graduates. That kind of bottom rung's going, which is sort of slightly kind of unnerving. But I think, I think particularly music, you see, there is this sort of lower, so what they call functional music, so music libraries, and you've got sort of vast amounts of music that are used on YouTube videos and stuff. People don't really have a budget to use it. They'll use libraries, but I can see there is a sort of lower tier in that level that will, AI just makes sense. If you've got not much money, you've got no time, you're an editor, you need to get something. Of course, why wouldn't you just go, right, I need some sort of upbeat, funky... They can already do it with these search libraries. They've got millions of tracks, you just type in your thing. So I think, for me, that there is that sort of level where I think it will be automated. The question is how much we kind of control that, how, in terms of the ethics of... having it properly licensed, remunerating artists, if it's working on a data set from people's work, we need a sort of ethical structure. And I'm positive in the sense I'm really seeing it now. There's this very, AI can create quite a strong reaction, and you can see it. As soon as you say something's in any way AI is used, it's rubbish, it's like the devil, it's like, that's not real, it's just totally cheating. But actually, there's no reason why we can't use it, because it's the latest technology. It's the way we're kind of bringing the summation of human content, as long as people are then, remunerated. And you see at Fiverr, the platform, the kind of skills platform, I don't know if people use it, where you can get sort of freelancers to do work. They've actually now, their new system, they're using AI. You can set up your account as a creator, but you can then build a little AI of you. So it uses you as the data set, and you can then go, right, I'll do it for you, and it will cost $1,000, but I'll let you use my AI, and it'll cost you $100. And then, they're being paid, they can do it quickly. Whoever's getting it, they're not going to get the real thing, but that's fine, but they love the look of it and sound of it. So I think we're kind of entering, into, I just think naturally, because of the reaction, I think people want ethical kind of work. People want people to be rewarded, but it does rely a lot on regulation and sort of systems, and I think we're still catching up with, and we're slightly at the mercy of these oligarchs who are basically trying to take over the world, which is a bit scary.
I suppose I can speak to more like the education industry,
Yes.
and then I suppose we're really seeing the disruption. So I'm seeing 2 years of cohorts absolutely anxious about getting jobs in animation. Have they got the right skills? But then is AI going to take those jobs away? Like say these, kind of entry-level jobs of like roto, clean-up and grading, and edit assistants is now getting kind of done at ingestion stage. So I totally get that. But then I suppose it's trying to make sure while they're in that playground of university, at least learn some AI, so they've got those fresh skills that when they do enter the workforce, when industry hasn't had the chance to actually play, at least they've got some knowledge they can probably bring as a task force. So I like it when there's a disruptive technology. The same with like when VR came out, I suppose, with game engines. Actually, it was the students that were kind of doing the really interesting stuff. And it was a level of technology with industry. So it's trying to make sure there's a little bit of like forgiveness to students, but those that have kind of been playing with AI, you know, take them on, because they probably might have more understanding and knowledge than you can take benefit from, or they just see things in a different out-of-the-box way. And then I'm seeing just a shift in how we look at the curriculum as well. We're quite progressive at the University of Salford in that, so we've got an animation course, but we've got a sister course called Creative Computing, and we actually have two shared modules, one called Creative Play and one called Creative Collaboration. And it's really more the creative computing course that's like dabbling with the AI and stuff, but getting it in amongst the animators as well, it kind of then lets them really explore AI as a buddy within that. And then around that framework, we can talk about the ethical use, or actually if they don't want to embrace it at all, and kind of create something around craft, and that's their USP.
Yeah, thank you. And that kind of leads into my next question, which I'll throw to you, Annabeth, first, is, you know, how important is it for us to adapt to AI in this world as opposed to pushing it away or ignoring it, pretending it doesn't exist, denying that it exists?
Oh, yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I suppose the genie's out of the bottle. That's the phrase a lot of people say, and something my dad used to say to me as well. If I was going to learn to drive a car, learn how to fix the engine. So I think if you can, you know, understand AI or understand how to code and how the code works underneath it to make it efficient, make it maybe actually energy efficient as well. I suppose that's how you kind of have to start engaging with AI. Not just using it to write your essays.
Yeah. And Ben, I'll throw over to you. You know, what is your experience with generative AI, and what are the pluses and minuses that you've seen in terms of production and how you use it?
Yeah, I mean, we take an artist-centric view. So we've got a really good applied technology team who build tools to assist our artists, and that can be across a whole variety of different tools and software packages and platforms. And so we've looked at generative AI in exactly the same way. So we've taken off the shelf tools like Comfy UI that you saw in both our example and Annabeth's last example, and then we've sort of pipelined them and made them as artist friendly as possible for our artists. So we found it really practically useful. One example is a feature film that we're producing at the moment in-house called Gone Bananas, and we are using the likeness of the actors, the A-list talent that we have. So we took the A-list talent's likeness, the hero, and put that as an input, and then got some, and you know, sort of Pixar style as a prompt or DreamWorks style as a prompt, you know, various different things. Let's see what this character looks like, and then go through a whole realm of concept art like that. And then we used very usefully a character expression sheet. This was a way of, I suppose it would take probably a month for an artist to do traditionally. We were able to get a really helpful character expression sheet for our hero character, which then went into a normal ZBrush sculpting, very traditional CG asset creation pipeline. So we were using it to, it was still artist-led, it was still artist-first, but what it did in that project, honestly, it allowed that project to have a life which wouldn't otherwise have a life. So this is an independent UK feature film that wouldn't exist without some of these technologies, both the generative AI there, but also the Unreal Engine side of things and accelerating technologies that allow that film to be made for half a Hollywood budget. So so we're seeing opportunities for new properties that wouldn't have existed without these new tools.
Yeah, I think I suppose another thing that I think I'm borrowing an expression from someone, but like the idea of being T-shaped as well. Like if, for example, someone's really passionate about character design and they want to imagine how their character moves, they could use a bit of AI just to kind of play with the idea and then share it with the animator, and that kind of helps on communication. So I think sometimes like just being able to be aware of the tools and playing with them can just possibly give you an edge as kind of any member of a team. And sometimes people might not have those skills. So I've seen writers that kind of use AI for mock-ups to get their ideas down. So I think, you know, I think sometimes just kind of communication can be benefited from that. And just sometimes new innovations.
I mean, it's been for a while, but I mean, just fairly basic software. You can get a sort of whole band in my DAW. And I mean, I would never hire a band just to play with ideas. I mean, it just wouldn't. But so I've got a drummer and a sort of bass player and stuff, and I go, right, I just need to get some sketch ideas. So you can just basically drag it out. It does all the fills. It's basically a real drummer, and it'll get your vibe. And okay, you're not going to use it. You'll either sort of reprogram it, you get a real drummer, or you don't. Or sometimes you do use it, but you process it and it sounds real. But you use it. It does enable. In a way, it's not like you're not taking work away from someone else. You're basically doing something you wouldn't do, and it's the same way you're making something that you would never be able to make.
You're testing ideas faster. You're kind of brainstorming.
It's sort of accelerating our creativity.
It's actually boosting creativity.
Yeah, and so it's really enabling in that way, and it's exciting. I mean, it's kind of like, wow, what can you do with this? It's incredible. But there is an argument as well. this whole kind of, in a way, I suppose we've kind of grown up without a lot of these tools. We've actually gone through the agony and pain of making this stuff like from scratch. I mean, we've always had technologies come, and so you have that kind of insight into the process, that kind of slow, iterative, painful, sometimes, often, process of creating things. But you learn so much through that. You learn that sort of creative pedagogy, that slow kind of building it, and it's like a craft. We're kind of. But obviously now, and certainly the sort of new generation. I mean, I'm sure you've got things. It's so quick. You can get something totally polished so quickly. I mean, in music, I mean, Brian Eno talked about this a lot, where you can quickly come up with some stuff on a computer, and it sounds totally professional, like top 10, fully produced, high end. It's like, great, that sounds really great. It's got all the kind of like umami of nice sounding stuff, but actually underneath it's a little bit lacking in depth. It's not had that process of iteration. I think that's the risk. It's something and it's our responsibility to sort of share that and bring that process. But I think people want to go through that real process. So yeah.
And I suppose actually AI can be quite a good way of diagnosing and getting rid of the bad ideas very quickly as well.
Yeah.
So, and especially at that kind of.
Do you ask ChatGPT, is this any good?
Is this shit? Yeah. But I really like Firefly's now added this new boards feature. So it's a bit like PureRef, and the fact you can put your own artwork in it and say, right, I want to like remix those two and then see some variants of it. And that's one of the biggest struggles I got with students is they kind of run with the very first idea in their head, and then they're running with that for like 8 weeks, and it's like, actually, we should have just done a load of scampering first and actually figure out, is this the best design? Try it out, develop it, look for some variants and things like that before kind of committing to things. And I think those tools, especially at the thumbnailing stage, are just really beneficial. I think should be kind of embraced. Because, I mean, previous to that, we're already using mood boards and Pinterest and stuff anyway. It is just reference. And then, it's still keeping the concept artist at the heart of it, and they're kind of driving sometimes maybe around their creative block. So I'm kind of trying to embrace it that way. Like Eno says, we're giving the game away now.
I know, exactly.
And Annabeth, when we spoke earlier, you had a really good opinion about using AI and in production and the benefits of it, and would love for you to share kind of the example that you gave in terms of being able to sell a show or.
I wouldn't say it's something that's worth unpacking, but I think as we're all discovering here, budgets are tight, and commissioners haven't got deep pockets anymore. But is a smaller team that's AI assisted that just enables a studio to keep going, better than trying to fight for that more very traditional like model. And this is something I'm definitely trying to get the students to think a little bit more about when they're kind of tackling their problems, or maybe even like after they graduate setting up their own teams. They have the potential of doing that because they can bring those kind of assistive technologies in to probably kind of allow them to get that first foot on the rung, things like that. But you're right. I think even at a higher level, I think that you were just kind of saying it as well, that some feasible ideas, are just out of reach of the budget. but now the technology keeps your studio going. So
And
I
it
think-
keeps some people employed. It might not be a full team of people,
Yeah.
but you at least are employing
and I suppose that's
a group.
that's the rub.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is that AI, because it's making everything so efficient and fast, is rather than going, great, we can do it much more quickly and then we can have 2 days mountain biking and relaxing, you're actually going, right, we can do it so quickly, so let's do 10 times more. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that generally. It's just, I mean, I certainly find that when if I do stuff quickly, I then just do a lot more of it.
Yeah,
But maybe that's not a good thing. It's too much. We're being swallowed with stuff.
The challenge is you always want to, as creatives, you always want to give your best work and go as far as you can. So if you can actually do something better with AI to kind of, in the same way when digital animation came out, accelerated parts of the process, if you have the same budget, but you can do something higher quality that is more creative, then obviously that's great. I'm just thinking back when I finished my animation degree in 2000, and, your final major project, you literally become script writer, storyboard artist, animator, director, sound. And I remember running out of time, my idea was too big. And just thinking if I had AI back then, I probably didn't, my wife actually helped me colour in all the frames and stuff. So it was, which obviously is a painful experience as well, just getting it finished in time. But then I suppose with AI, maybe I could have taken that idea even further back then. So, I think if you potentially it could power your ambition more. And yeah, like any sort of potential production schedule, and you could use that to kind of do something better than you could have done in the past. So
that's a good phrase, power your ambition.
Yeah.
I mean, I use virtual instruments on a keyboard, so I don't play violin. But it actually, this is something that's evolved over, it's got better and better, more and more real. It's gone less and less perfect. There was a point where virtual instruments were perfect. Everyone said, it's the most perfect piano. And you go, it sounds horrible. And now, so we've spent the last 10 years trying to make everything really rough, but human, it's like, well, that's a whole other, we can talk about that. But yeah, so it literally models how I move my hand and sort of understands the way I'm at the speed, the pressure, the kind of, and then sort of models how a violinist would be doing that same thing. So it's understanding what I'm trying to do. So it enables me to play. I mean, so that's not just about making something better. That's allowing me to do something I just couldn't have done before.
Like a lot of the music industry as well, it's like people want authentic artists, like all our favourite songwriters and bands and stuff. And it's just kind of, that's what people want from stories and anything. So I think if the AI is just a tool, but there's a voice and a vision behind it, then it's just another tool to, at the heart of it, that's what we all want. It's that kind of connection, that human
connection
side.
Yeah. And Giles, just kind of going off of your point, and this was something that had been talked about before, but using AI as a tool, and it's kind of your co-pilot in creating and composing. How do you feel about using AI for that violin part as opposed to an actual violinist? And, how do you balance that?
If I had the budget, I would do the virtual violin, and then I'll get my violinist to come in. So it's that thing of, if I can. The point is, well, okay, so there is an argument to say, and this is the problem as well, it's like, you can do it twice as fast, so I'll give you half the money. It's like, you can do that for that, therefore I'll never give you any more than that. This is the vicious circle, isn't it? So the expectations go, so budgets come down, this is we're in. So it's a sort of thing. So, but as a sort of artist, composer, creating stuff, to be able to just sit there this isn't healthy either, in my cave where I can do everything and I never have to see anyone ever again, and I don't really feel it's like the kind of geek's dream, and it's equivalent to sitting in a spaceship and you can go anywhere in the universe. I mean, that's, as a child, that was it. I had that computer, and then you could go, it's more powerful. And 48K from 1K, and I was looking at the numbers. I mean, now computers, it's like 48K now. It's like 48 with about 26 noughts on the end. I mean, don't quote me on that. I'm just, but the sheer number of calculations per second is just, and it's almost like it's got so powerful that it feels to us like it's come alive. I mean, it's
teraflops.
Yeah, I mean, it's a million billion. Is it a billion billion or something?
Well, Google
about 20. Well, you know what you're talking about.
Academics. Yeah. Martin, I'll start with you, and then would love to have everybody else chime in. But would love to know with AI in this world, what does it mean to be creative today? How would you define creativity?
I guess it's such an abstract thing, isn't
It is.
Yeah, I guess I suppose it's some form of kind of magic, really, isn't it? It's like kind of, I think from the point of view, I'm just thinking back in time when I was a kid and I, did comics growing up and on the bus and, just it's an outlet. It's kind of a way of expressing yourself and telling stories. And it's, whether you're songwriting or telling story. And I think it's, at the end of the day, AI, just think of it as a tool alongside any other kind of tool. But at the heart of it, it's just there's a human behind the scenes kind of that's expressing their creativity. And so I think, it's just shouldn't shy away from it, but it can empower the creativity because,
Yeah, and I think to that point, Ben, in the video that you showed, one of the animators had said, you need to have that artist behind the AI to get what you're looking for. If you don't understand composition, you don't understand.
I think
you won't
so.
get
I mean,
good.
there's this proliferation of AI slop, isn't there, online? Everyone sees it all the time in various different social media feeds, and there's plenty of really, really bad generative AI animated content out there. And I think the point is about creativity is it's a voice, it's storytelling, it's composition, it's all of those things. It's, I think we're going to see this is democratizing again, creativity and access to being able to have the tools to be able to tell a story. And you've still got to go through that painful process that you described, Giles, of like hours and hours of refining and honing your craft to become that true creative. And I think quality will still shine through. So the human and the soul will still shine through whatever the tool it is.
Yeah, actually, we've got a module called Creative Play, so try to find how do you assess that? So, but what we kind of were looking for in that one, risk-taking, I suppose, fast fail, and learning from fail and reflecting on it. It's a lot of reflection. And yeah, problem solving. So I suppose, again, I suppose all of us, when we've been embracing AI, it's more that we're trying to break it and play with it and kind of figure out its limitations, not just its rewards. I think probably more its limitations, if anything. It's more my curiosity.
Yeah. How would you define creativity?
Well, I think in a way AI is forcing us to actually try and understand what creativity is or what human creativity is. Because actually when you get generative AI, it is super impressive. You can't deny it. And you're going, well, what makes the difference between, because it's getting better as well. Mm-hmm. And I think, there's some research I've been looking up stuff in the last few weeks. Richard said, don't overthink it. You're an artist, talk about your process. They did a study where they did a blind test, and people were asked to say what they preferred, what had a more emotional resonance pieces of music, and they had a mix of AI-generated music and real music. And actually, the AI-generated music had more emotional power than normal music. And you think, of course, there's sort of pop music, familiar music, it's always going to kind of hit and create those sort of that dopamine hit. But it does. You do start to question what is human creativity. Because creativity. There's no great, amazing definition for creativity. It's like, well, it's kind of something novel, something. It's like taking an idea in one domain and applying it to another domain. These are different sort of definitions. There isn't a clear definition of what creativity is. And then you think, well, is it just purely a human thing? Because we think it's always been before this whole explosion of generative AI. We all thought we're fine. We're the last people. It'll be like the kind of the sort of technical but the creative people. We're sort of impervious to that. And of course, amazingly, it's us that have been the most hit in the first hit. It's like, oh shit, that actually is quite good. So I can't remember what was the question.
Defining creativity.
Oh yeah, creativity. So yeah. For me, it's like, well, actually. It's not really now anymore. It's no longer really just about the end result. If you think of it as an artist, I don't want to get too arty, but it's that thing of there's this sort of product, and we've almost sort of defined everything as this sort of end product, content. Just by definition, it's a thing at the end of it, and that's the only thing that matters. But actually, I think we're now recognising it's all the stuff from there to the product. That's where the value is. That's where us as humans...
And as you said, the pain as well, sometimes that
well,
you go through
pain
as a creator, you know.
and context.
Yeah.
So I think, in a way, it's forcing us to go, well, actually, it's not just that thing. It's like, where does that sit in the cultural kind of milieu of where we're at? What the resonance, the relevance? And they talk about we're kind of entering this new age where it's not about knowledge. We can get knowledge. Knowledge is just available here. Everything in the whole world ever from humanity in that thing. So it's more about what taste and sort of context and understanding and story, and so that's where I'm at. Is that enough?
Okay, that's great.
Keep
That's
on.
fantastic. We have a few minutes before our Q&A, so fire up your chat GPT. Get ready. Annabeth, I'll start with you. How, and I think that the panel has touched on this a little bit, but if there's anything additional to add is, how can AI create opportunities for creatives and maybe help them get their content made, whether it's somebody in this room or a student, or, how can AI really help?
Well, I suppose we kind of start maybe using ChatGPT to help kind of order our thoughts as well, so it can be quite a good filter. And I suppose that's where AI can be good, as I was saying earlier, about just testing ideas and stuff. I just wanted to add on the back of Giles' stuff, though, with creativity. It was making me think as an educator. I suppose some of the dangers of it is AI come across something called Bloom's taxonomy. It's kind of like a pyramid of learning. And the bottom is knowledge, the next layer is comprehension, and then application, and then synthesis. And the danger is, I suppose, with ChatGPT and AI, you're going straight to application, but we've kind of learned knowledge, rote, and through kind of stuff like that. So my job is, get the students to embrace AI, but still you've got to know the principles, the fundamentals, the visual language, the composition, everything like that.
Yeah.
So
And then,
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, okay. And then Martin, just in terms of the app that you're creating for kids to animate and use AI to animate, would love to know how you feel about that.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of my mind went off in this tangent. What was the original question before that again? Sorry.
It was just how can AI create opportunities for creatives? So, how can your app help kids get their stuff made or create their content?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess we're wanting to create the app to really kind of for a few different reasons for kids. Really, I suppose one thing is just as a pure outlet, because sometimes in the same way that just art therapy, music therapy, it's just there's something really wonderful about giving kids that kind of toolbox to be able to just express themselves. But as well as that, we want it to kind of be a stepping stone into the industry, into the opportunities of the animation industry, and so that's like another thing. And I guess just to. It's kind of an entrepreneurial generation, so I'm just scared sometimes of my kids' creativity and what they get up to, in terms of YouTube and everything. And I think just kind of giving kids that sort of power is like a lovely thing to do. And, I think any person being creative, doesn't matter what you do, it's a wonderful thing. So, just to try and empower that.
Awesome, thank you. So I think now we'll go to the audience for some questions. There's a lot. We'll start here. I don't know if there's a mic coming around.
Hello, thank you for that. Really interesting. My name is Anthony Pickthall, and I'm a screenwriter. I'm just wondering if AI can give us a better sense of the optimal way to experience whatever it is you're creating.
I suppose that is the limitation currently with generative AI. It's not sentient. Yeah, I think we have to start getting away from the hype. It is just, machine learning, and it just repeats back what it's been told and stuff like that. So at the moment, I think that's why we need writers.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, I'm just trying to think about from, hate to use the words, but end user point of view. We've got limitations on flat screens, limitations on audio quality. Immersive experiences are going to become more important, but how do we deliver them? What do we need to do? What do I need to do as a writer to help you create these amazing experiences?
Can AI accelerate your process? Because I use it for writing. I mean, I'm not a writer, but I kind of use it and then refine it, and for me, I've always struggled with just my brain's all over, and that's why I like music, because it's sort of more experiential. But writing, just that, it just sort of frames it all, it puts it all, it cleans it out, gives you that structure really, really quickly. It's almost like I need that speed. And then you kind of fill from there and you go from there. And there is an argument to say the whole name artificial intelligence, I was reading this recently as well, it's another one of my research. It's kind of, actually it's a kind of misnomer, because AI is built on human knowledge. So it's arguably it's just a highly efficient way of researching. It's equivalent to us reading a whole load of books in an instant. I mean, we still read books, and you don't say, you read that book, so you cheated, because you learned all that. Our knowledge and where we are as an evolved species is built on generations and generations of knowledge and blah, 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 and we build to this point, and we're evolving, and arguably AI is almost, just our technology is the next step of our next step of evolution, and we are evolving now, within our lifetime, whereas before it would take 10,000 years, and now we can do it within one lifetime. So there's different, and so I don't think there's an issue. Use it. Why not? You're stupid not to, because it's our knowledge. I mean, I think the question is, then you're not doing it. The negative, the kind of flip side of that is you're not using your brain, and so there's all these new research showing that our brains are atrophying, and there's these little sort of, big bright light for someone who doesn't use it, and this sort of dim little sort of corner of your brain. But actually, I think we're changing, and we've always changed. We're in that, and our skill set needs to change.
We'd just love to we had a lot of questions, and we're running out of time, so just want to grab one over here.
Hello, my name's Sam. I work for a media production company called Scoredraw as a production coordinator. I'm really interested in the conversation around AI as someone who's quite skeptical of it. And it's been a hot topic over the course of today, and I imagine tomorrow as well. Something that I haven't heard much discussion about that I feel is crucial to the conversation, particularly when we're discussing how we can use generative AI to engage with young people through entertainment and education to help prepare them for the future, is with the direct and indirect impacts that generative AI places on the environment and in turn on the said future of these children, both in terms of the massive amounts of electricity and water used in data centers and in terms of its manufacture and transport. I'm not asking for environmental solutions from you, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts, as I feel like the use of AI exists almost in juxtaposition to the idea of preparing children for a future that they deserve.
Ben, do you want to take that one?
Oh,
Sorry.
I can try. Yeah,
Have you guys talked about that?
No, I think it's a really important one. I think we shouldn't be blind to the fact that there is an environmental impact. But I also think if we're talking about preparing the next generation, the way I approach it with my kids, just as a father, is I say, embrace these tools and technologies. You don't know what the job market's going to look like in 10, 15 years' time when you guys are going to have jobs. We absolutely have no idea. So I think not embracing them is actually going to put you at a disadvantage. I think it is slightly overblown. You had the statistic when we were talking before, Annabeth, about there was some chat about it was a bottle of water for one prompt, and actually it turned out it was a teaspoon or less for one prompt. I don't want to minimise that in any way. I think it's still a huge amount. We definitely have to be aware of it and realise that the tech oligarchs are harvesting our information. And I think actually perhaps for me the bigger issue around AI and perhaps some of the challenges around it comes down to an ethical perspective and around the way that the models are trained. And we've done quite a lot of work in that. We've got a whole ethical AI framework that we've researched, and it's available on our website if anyone wants to go and have a look at it. But about making sure that we're using only large language models that are using works that are not in copyright, making sure that there are different solutions that you can find. One came out, was it today? Was that Moon Valley?
Moon Valley was today.
Moon Valley was today, which is a new generative AI tool set that dropped today, which is completely trained on licensed material, and that's a really important thing. Making sure that people are compensated adequately for these very. I know I've sort of slightly gone
and going back to kind of answering your question, I hope we've got over the peak of inflated expectations on the hype curve, and I think really hopefully it's about legislation now, and while there's this big arms race of chat GPTs and stuff, these are enormous models that are unnecessary and unwieldy, and I think people are starting to realise for certain jobs you just need a lightweight model that could probably run on your local computer. I saw over in Estonia, they're trying to start looking at taking old phones from about 10 years ago, and if you transpute them together and just make a cluster, they can actually do a lot of computational. So that's actually starting to take e-waste and looking at a different way of using it. What we need to do as a pressure is kind of, look at AI. Something I was kind of saying to Ben earlier as well, there's something called Code Carbon, which is a bit of Python script. You can actually see the energy usage of your prompt. So if people start building that into their platforms, like we've had with the render farms that actually give us a carbon budget, so we know our Albert certification, then we need to insist that AI starts putting those tools in. So I think that's one thing that CMC can be very useful for, is lobbying and kind of getting that to make it, like you say, to address some of these kind of concerns for the next generation.
Let's do one more quick question. Let's go here in the pink in the middle.
Thanks. Let's hope it was worth it after that. Jane Milliship from BAFTA. How do we maintain a space for the brilliance born of chaos in an AI world? And as an example, I use Keith Jarrett's album, The Cologne Concert, where he was forced to bash out a concert on a terrible broken piano, and he almost pulled out and didn't. And it's now considered to be one of the finest live concerts recorded. So how do we maintain or create a space for the brilliance of chaos?
So, I'll take a stab. I don't think that just because we've got a tool there means that you have to use it. So Keith Jarrett, you can still do that concert. You can still use any analog tools that you want, and I think it's really important. And that's the kind of creativity that resonates with audiences. Everyone's going to be really into that. They're going to be really into, a kid throwing paint at a wall. Whatever it might be, that's all the parts of human creativity is still
AI is going to make that space bigger, because I think people now want that more and more. And you see stop motion animation, the kind of clunky human made, but it has sort of magic, and you see it with music, you see it with art generally. People are craving human, raw, process,
made by humans.
Early demos. Yeah. I think that's increasing.
It wasn't meant to be like that. It was an accident.
Yeah.
Can we still have happy genius accidents? It wasn't asking a kid to throw paint at a wall. He was actually trying to do something really measured, and he ended up with shit pianos.
I see what you mean. Well, you can definitely still get that.
Chaos.
All my best music.
It's not the human thing. It's how do we allow for chaos?
I get that. Yeah, sorry, I get that. So, but you can still have that with Gen AI in the sense that it'll give you unpredictable results. and chaotic results. Actually, that's what it's best at the moment.
Oh no, totally. When I was doing the deep water stuff, a lot of that was serendipitous in terms of what it kind of spat out, and then you kind of run with it and stuff. So, and I still like glitch art and love like breaking code and making it all go blocky and stuff like that. I like artifacts and things. I think it's the assumption that AI means it's got to be synthetically pure and perfect, and it's actually. No, it's
so
human. It's got to be
AI
dirty.
slot will become a genre that will be creating. Oh, you remember the 2025 AI slop? Oh yeah, that's so cool. In about 10 years, when everything is absolutely like real.
But it's like, you know, that's why I like comfy UI and stuff like that. You can add noise into that and stuff. And I mean, if you want to be like really fun with it, you could like take it out, get an electrical signal, like do an Aphex twin on it, and then put it back into the AI again. Nice. So, you know, there's tool for that. But I think the other one is, as I say, the unpredictable things that AI comes up with from your prompt. The nice thing, occasionally, it comes up maybe not with a better idea, but definitely a different idea that makes you kind of stop and think. So I think that's definitely something that we don't talk about enough with AI. We think it comes out with a perfect solution when we prompt it. It doesn't. You have to take many attempts, but some of those attempts might take you down a totally different rabbit hole.
Well, it's interesting that generative AI comes from interrupting the process. That's how it starts. It goes through the layers, the sort of digital neural layers, and where they kind of invented, well, not invented, but discovered that is they take the process and they interrupt it halfway. And then it kind of disrupts that, and it started to create new things, because before it was just about image recognition. So it was scanning and determining, right, that's a cat, and that's
and then lots of eyeballs appear on it.
It's got the potential of introducing new mad ideas just by the sheer weirdness of some of the stuff you get from it.
Even a human spelling mistake in the prompt is wonderful.
So we only have a minute left. Just want to go down the panel to wrap up really quickly. Very quickly, if what would you tell somebody who's resistant to learning and using AI? And Martin, we'll start with you and work our way down.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I think just play with it. Really, don't be afraid of it. Just have a go at different things, and just stay up to date on it, and then weave it into parts of your process where it makes sense. And
Yes, similar. Yeah, have a go. You know, don't just stick your head in the sand. Just try the standard models and see what fun you can have.
Maybe just to be devil's advocate, I think not using AI should equally be as valid. You know, and should be your USP and stuff like that. But always just keep open-minded. You know, that's
great.
The best thing.
Yeah, I think kind of if you can use it to do new things, and if it helps you, then you should definitely use it. Maybe always be a little bit aware of, you know, if you can use ethical versions, and if that option is there, because I think obviously that kind of behaviour helps push it in that direction, so it's fair.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just want to let everybody know, Tea and Coffee, sponsored by Omen Studios, is available in the hubs and at the bar upstairs. Those of you who have booked commissioner speed meetings at 5 p.m., those are over at the workstation and sponsored by A Productions. And then coming up next in here in Cinema 3 is what we all need to know about, Laugh It Up, Shake It Up at 5:10. So thank you. Thank you to the panel.